Okay. Assalamu sir. So today we will be looking at the project and how it's working. So a brief overview of what the project demanded was a code that's like a basically a that's basically a portal for teachers where you input all the marks of all the quizzes and assignments. And here is an example. You input all the marks of the quizzes and assignments and mids and finals in project, and then you provide that program the percentages of each of these quizzes, assignments, marks, mids, finals and projects, and it calculates the final score according according to it by applying formula like this or this. And this was the grading system, and this is what was kind of required. So this is what was needed for the project. So basically a portal for teachers where they don't have to do anything manually, it's all just done on code. So as a start, we will look, apologies, and this is the introduction that is given in our report, that it's in a digital age, and teachers using portal for C++ guarantees good flexibility and everything. I just explained all of this in my words. And this code will only work for a CSV comma separated value, and that is because only a comma separated value is, so the file that, okay, so I'll move on. I'll be able to explain in the code. So this is the code. These are the arrays we're using of a max students, and we basically set a max at 100, which is still a big value, but it's not a maximum that can be reached. And we set the max entries for max entries for quizzes or the assignments to be at 20. So you can input 10, 15 quizzes and still not get the max value. So we chose this max value because this is still something that's in the range, and we can work with. So these are all the arrays we're using. So in the start we set the student count, quiz count and assignment count to 0, because it's gonna pick up these all of these values from the code itself. One thing that I'm gonna mention, which okay, here we can see it, that when you're using fstream, which we're using to read a file, open it, so it can only read like this a comma separated value. So if it was a file like this, just say only this is written, so using namespace std. If there's a comma in between, it's like using, then comma, namespace, then std. But if there's no comma, it'll read the whole thing. So it can't without a comma it can't separate individual values correctly. And especially because what we are using, each column is a comma. So when you're looking at it like this, it's gonna be Mohammed Abdullah Khan, comma, the roll number, comma, the quiz, comma, the assignment, comma, the mid, comma, 28.8. So it's easier for the program to read it this way, rather than for without commas it will be just one straight line, so it can't differentiate what is what. So continuing, so this picks up the values from the file whenever a file whenever apologies for 1 second. So I've opened this is my lab task of fstream of file reading. So I've opened it to explain that whenever something is read from a file, so this was one, we wrote this and then we pasted this into the other node. So whenever it reads this whole, it reads this as a string. So of course these are characters, so it's gonna read this as a string. But even in Aage, when you go forward, you have something like this. It reads even these values 33, 68, 56. It reads these values as a string, even though you don't really tell it to. I mean, here you do say, but it reads all of these values as a string. So when you're operating for mathematical calculation, like we are in this case, where we're gonna be mathematically trying to find the values of averages and all of these things, you need these values in integers or float. It's better for float, but you know what I mean. So for that we have to convert these string values into a float, and that's why we use a safestop, where it safely converts all the string values into floats which are required, so that whenever you're doing all of these calculations your program does not crash, and return false if the conversion fails. So then we use bool for truth, for true and false cases, where it's better to just, you don't have to write everywhere. So you just write bool, so if a case is going to be a true, you tell it, like if, see, not file does not open, you say a file not found. So this is an error case, and then here you return false. So continuing, we start the file and the file reads. So we write this getLine function. So a getLine function reads, getLine is used for reading a file. So a getLine is used to read a direct line. Let me go back here. So if I used a getLine function here, it will read this whole. So that's why you use a getLine function. Yes, see, getLine, I use a getLine, so it reads this whole line. Hello, this is a test. It reads this whole line and then pastes it directly. So that's for a single getLine function, but we use multiple. So this function, it reads the whole line, but when you go forward, this one, when you use this one, it reads until it's separated by a comma. So in this case, when you use this code, when you use this line, it's gonna first read Alex, then it's gonna see that there's a comma, so it breaks, then it's gonna read 33, then it's gonna see a comma, and then it breaks. But for the other one, it's gonna read it directly, Alex 3368. So I hope that's better for you. I hope that sort of explains the two different getLine functions we used in this code. Continuing, we write these first two lines of string getLine with nothing, because we want to skip the header lines, the top two lines. I'll open the Excel file. So we can, as you can see, that the top two header files, this whole file, this whole line, and this whole line, they don't hold any significant value that we need for the program. So that's why we write these two lines to tell it to skip these headers. So it directly starts from the third line to get the information. So it reads the roll number first. Okay. Continuing, one thing that I didn't mention, but I'm just gonna clarify on it more, is that this SS is the string stream, which helps in reading singular comma separator values. Okay, so after we have done this, we enter a while loop. I don't know why this is showing up. Yes, we enter a while loop. We use Q index. So we use an index. The Q only stands for quizzes. Like forward, we have an A index. So this, we use an index to count values. So let's say it reads 1. Let's say in Hassan's case, it reads the 7, 5, 3, 8. Now it's adding all of these values, but what the index is doing in the background is that it's seeing, okay, you have 7, you have 1 quiz value, okay, now you have 2 quizzes, now you have 3 quizzes, now you have 4 quizzes. Okay, so while you add these 7, 5, 3, 8 for the total quiz, for the total number of quiz, the index also counts how many values. So in this case it has 4 values. So using Q index, now the Q index knows that you have 4 quizzes, so it's gonna find the average for the average here. As you can see, the quiz count is equal to 0, 0, and the quiz count is equal to Q index, because the Q index adds it up and it knows that there are 4 quizzes that we have read. So this is the first case for the quizzes, and now this is for the assignments. This is the same one for the assignments. When there's a break in the comma, it knows that now the assignments have started. For now, we use indexes because we know that there are going to be multiple quizzes and there's going to be multiple assignments, but we don't use an index for the midterms, finals and projects because we know there's only going to be one project, one final, one midterms. So it directly goes, it gets the value directly for the midterms, finals and projects. It uses this value directly. So it uses the getLine function, and it first gets the midterm value, then it gets the finals value, then it gets the projects value. Now when you're done with all of this, the file asks for you close the file closes, and it has successfully read all of the data. Now continuing, uh, now this is weightages. First I want to tell you about here. So this is the file we named our cleaned underscore NCA, even, or like CP, even though it was only CP, but I just renamed it for it to read, so it's renamed cleaned underscore CP. If I was only CP and it was only CP here, it would have been easier as well. We hard coded the path, so my whole file I made sure that it's saved in the C users HP download. So I'll show you the path here. As you can see, this is this PC local disk users HP downloads, and in the downloads we have the clean CP. So this is hard coded. We could also change it so it searches the whole PC, but that's longer. It takes longer for it, a bit slower as well. So it's better you just directly coded it into it. So we also have it for the NCA file, but for the NCA file, the problem that we faced was that the NCA file is in one second. The NCA file is in XLSX. Yes, it's in XLX. If it was in CSV, it would have been for us to read, but we can't read it in this format. So that's why we are unable to do the NCA file. Okay, continuing. So next the program asks for weightages. Here it directly just see out, enter weightages. So you have declared all of these values. There are quiz weightage, assignment weightage, midterm weightage, final weightages, and it asks for it here. And then directly in one line it asks for it, and in the same line it imports it into the value. Next we have made sure an error case where if these weightages do not add up to 100, it gives the cout that total weightage must be 100, and it exits the program. So we even made this error scenario. Next we have the code used for total marking. So it calculates it uses the weightage, and then it adds up all the quizzes, the assignments, and then here's the formula it's used. So here you add up the quizzes for each student, and you add up the assignments for each student, and then you find the quiz total divided by this. So you find the average, quiz average. This, see, here you're using it for the quiz average, and here you find the assignment average. Now you have the averages, you find the total marks. So it's going to be quiz average multiplied by quiz weight divided by 100. Same for the assignment. Midterm value that you picked up for each single student is stored in one array, so it goes 1 2 3. So I hope that's understandable. And then it picks up one value, first value from the array, it multiplies it with the midterm weightage, and then it does all of this. So it's adding up all of these values, as you can see as well. It's also adding them up while it's also using the weightage. So this is also stored in array for each student, so it's going to be 1 for first student. So this is, you have gotten, this is the formula. Now we will go forward. This is the grading system. So I tried to implement the other grading system where it's A negative, B negative, A plus, B plus. I'll show it to you as in an example. The video is about to end, so let me just